Today, I'm excited to show you how to make homemade pizza dough. It is so good. A lot of students tell me that this pizza dough is better than our local favorite pizza restaurant in our town of Streeter called Joe's Station House. A lot of people say that this crust is even better than theirs, and theirs is super good. But it could be because ours is gonna be fresh and homemade, and it's gonna taste so good. Now, you'll see on the recipe, it's called yeast dough pizza because there is yeast in the recipe. That's what makes the dough rise and get nice and fluffy, okay? So, a lot of kids are like, yeast, what is that? And it's in our pizza? Well, yes, yeast is in a lot of our baked goods. Like, for example, yeast is in most all bread, okay? White bread or wheat bread. It's in pizza dough to make it fluffy. It is in donuts, certain kinds of donuts. It's in hot dog buns, and it's also in hamburger buns. Okay, so a lot of baked goods have yeast. It's what gives it that kind of fluffiness. So what happens is yeast is actually a live microorganism. Okay? Now, a lot of my students are going, in my classroom right now, going, oh, well, yes, it is. It is alive, but right now, it's not active. It's kind of in a sleeping state. But when I put it in the warm water with a little bit of food, which is the flour, it's gonna kind of wake up and it's gonna start producing carbon dioxide. That's the same gas that we breathe out. So that's what yeast produces. So if you think about a slice of bread and you look at the surface of it, is it completely smooth or does it have a lot of holes in it? It has a lot of holes in it because the yeast produced carbon dioxide in the dough while it was rising, and those are kind of like all the little gas pockets where the carbon dioxide was produced and made the dough puff up or rise. So we're gonna have that yeast in our pizza crust. Now, here's the thing that's good news. When you take the pizza crust and bake it in the oven and make a pizza, you actually kill the yeast, okay? Because it can't live in that high heat of the oven. So, you know, some kids are like, ew, I don't want to eat yeast. Ew, it's a live organism, a live microorganism. Well, actually, you won't be eating live yeast. You'll just be eating dead yeast in your pizza crust or in your bread or donuts or whatever. So it's not anything to worry about. I mean, you eat it all the time. Every time you have a sandwich or a cheeseburger or a piece of pizza. Okay, so let's get started now that you know all about yeast. Okay, so step one, mix the yeast in warm water in a large bowl. Stir gently until the yeast is dissolved. So I look at the top. It says 3/4 of a cup of warm water, but not hot. Okay, so I'm gonna take my liquid measuring cup and I'm gonna go over to my sink and I'm gonna get 3/4 of a cup of warm water. So I'm gonna let it run for a second and I'm gonna keep my finger under here. I want it to be warm, but not piping hot. So I need to get eye level and get 3/4 of a cup. And that's good. If it's warm to the touch, perfect. If it is piping hot, that is too hot and it could kill your yeast, and then your pizza dough won't rise. Okay, so I have 3/4 of a cup of warm water. I'm gonna add that to my mixing bowl. And I need to add, for my recipe, 1 teaspoon of yeast. So I have a container of it because I'll have lots of units in our kitchens making the pizza dough tomorrow. But at home, you can just buy like a little, it looks like a Kool-Aid packet of yeast. You don't have to buy the whole big container. Now I'm gonna get 1 teaspoon and I'm going to level it off and then put that into the water. And I am going to stir that so that is dissolved. So what's happening now is that warm water is kind of waking up the yeast, and it's going to start bubbling and producing that carbon dioxide that we want, which is going to give the pizza crust the kind of the fluffy chewiness that we like. Okay. That looks pretty good. Put the lid on this and put it over to the side. And then I'm going to put that in the refrigerator, and then I can use that for several months. So now I'm on step 2. Blend in the salt and only 1 cup of the flour. Okay. Now this step 2 is very crucial. First it says blend in the salt. I look to the top. It's 1 teaspoon of salt. Salt makes pizza crust taste good, but too much salt can kill the yeast. And right now it's alive. We don't want to kill it. So when you measure the salt tomorrow, please be very careful that you have the teaspoon, 1 TSP, not a tablespoon of salt. We need the flavor of the salt, but we do not want to have too much salt. It won't taste good and it'll kill our yeast, and then the dough won't rise. So we're gonna put just a teaspoon of salt in there, and then 1 cup of flour. Now, if I look at the top where the ingredients are listed, it says 2 cups flour, but it says right here, blend in salt and only 1 cup of flour. So this is important. Total, I'm going to use 2 cups of flour, but in this step, I'm only using 1 cup. So I've got my flour. I'm going to do the flour technique of stir and spoon into my measuring cup. And I'm going to level that across. Go ahead and put that in. And I'm going to blend in that 1 cup of flour. Now the crust is mostly flour, as we know, but also the flour is kind of like a food for the yeast and really helps to wake it up so that it'll produce even more carbon dioxide and make that dough nice and risen, so I can roll it out and make it into a large pizza. Okay, I'm kind of scraping the bottom, getting all that flour blended in. All right, so now I can go to step 3. Look at step 3. It says blend in 2 tablespoons of oil. All right, I'll do that first. Blend in 2 tablespoons of oil. Now, if I look to the top, it says 2 plus 1 tablespoons of oil divided. So 2 plus 1 is 3, but then it says divided. Divided means you're going to use some at one point and some later at a different point. So for right now, it says blend in 2 tablespoons of oil. Even though I'm going to use 3 total, I'm going to use my other one later. So I'm going to measure off to the side. I have a 1 TBSP, 1 tablespoon. Fill it to the top. And then add that 2nd tablespoon. There we go. So we've got the 2 tablespoons in. We're going to use a little bit of more oil later. We're going to blend this in. And it says blend in 2 tablespoons of oil, blend in 2nd cup of flour. Now that doesn't mean put in 2 right now. It says 2nd cup of flour. I already put in 1, and now I'm going to put the 2nd one. Get my 1 cup measuring cup. And again, I'm going to stir it and spoon it, which is the technique for measuring flour. Stir it and spoon it so it's overflowing, level across. And now I'm blending in my 2nd 1 cup of flour. And it says step 3, blend in 2 tablespoons of oil, blend in 2nd cup of flour, mix until dough becomes a soft mass. All right, so I'm kind of scraping the sides and stirring this up, and you can see it's starting to turn into a soft mass, which means kind of like a ball of dough that I could actually like pick up, and it would be solid and not a liquid. Okay, so we're almost there. I'm just gonna kind of scrape some of that wet dough off the bottom. All right, that looks good. Okay, so now I am on step 4. Knead the dough on a floured surface until the dough is smooth and elastic, about 5 minutes. All right, so first of all, I need a floured surface. So I'm gonna take and get a large pinch of flour and spread that out on my counter. Okay, so I did already wash my counter really well before we started recording. So I've got my floured surface, and now I'm just gonna dump the flour out onto, or the dough onto it. Now I want you to pay attention to how sticky and kind of wet the flour looks, okay? Because after the 5 minutes of kneading it, it's gonna not look like this at all. It's gonna be smooth and dry. All right, so I'm gonna get a little more flour on my hands. Okay, and get some more flour down where the dough was. Now to knead it, you kind of flatten it out, make sure you have flour in your hands so it doesn't stick. You fold it over towards you, push it away, turn it. Fold it over, 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 push it away, turn it. Now you can see it's starting to stick here, so I'll just move some flour into the middle. Fold it over, push it away, turn it. Cameraman, you might want to zoom in up in the mirror if you can, so we can see that technique. Okay, so have it like this. Fold it over towards you, push it away, turn it. Fold it over towards you, push it away, turn it. Fold it over, push it away, turn it. Fold it over, push it away, turn it. Fold it over, push it away, turn it. Now you'll feel when it starts to stick. When it starts to stick, just bring some of that flour to the middle. Fold it over, push it away, turn it. Fold it over, push it away, turn it. Fold it over, push it away, turn it. Now you're gonna do this for about 5 minutes. And I don't know about you, but I get kind of tired, excuse me, doing this for 5 minutes. So what I would do is you've got several people in your unit, give everybody 1 or 2 minutes to try out this technique of kneading it. And like I said, as it starts to stick, bring some flour over. You never want to have too much flour or else the dough will get dry. The dough will absorb the exact amount of flour that it needs. We'll keep kneading it, but it's still a little sticky. You'll know when it's done because it will not stick to your hands. Okay. All right, I would probably do this a little bit longer, but because I'm on the video, I'm gonna go ahead to the next step. Okay, so I'm just finishing up kneading it enough for the video, but you know, you wanna make sure you do this for about 5 minutes, but this looks pretty good. It does say, make sure the dough is smooth and elastic, and there's a test you can do to see if it's ready. Now, if it's smooth, it won't be sticky, and it'll be nice and smooth to the touch. So this is smooth, and elastic means it bounces back. This is pretty cool. So, cameraman, I'm gonna have you kind of zoom in on this. If it's elastic, it will bounce back. So watch this test you can do. If you can poke it and it bounces back out, you see that? See how I poke it down and then it pops back out? It's not like Play-Doh where it stays. If I squeeze it, it bounces back into a ball. Okay, so if you can poke it and it comes back out, that means it's elastic, it means it's ready to go. Okay, so now I am on step 5, roll the dough into a ball. And then step 6, pour 1 tablespoon of oil into the bottom of a clean bowl and turn the dough in the oil until the entire ball is coated with oil. So I'm gonna get my oil again, and here's where I'm gonna use that second, or that, I guess it's the 3rd tablespoon of oil. So I'm gonna get a tablespoon of oil, put that in the bottom of this clean bowl, and then I'm gonna take the dough and I'm gonna roll it around in the oil so that the whole outside is coated in oil. Okay, so that's good. All right, and now I'm on step 7. Look at step 7. Cover the bowl tightly with the lid or with plastic wrap. Put it in a warm place and let the dough rise until it is doubled in bulk, about 45 minutes. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get some plastic wrap, because I don't have a lid for this bowl. I'm gonna plastic wrap tightly over the top, and I'm gonna set it in a warm place. The best warm place is to turn your oven on at 350 and set it on top of the oven, not in it. You don't wanna bake it like this. Set it on top of the oven with plastic wrap over the top, and then even lay a towel over it, kind of like as a blanket, like a little blankie, okay? Now look at it says until it is doubled in bulk, about 45 minutes. So you're gonna let it set on top of the stove, and after 45 minutes, you see it's this big, it will be this big. It will fill up the whole bottom of the bowl and be about that big. So just in 45 minutes, it's gonna go from this to about this big. And that's because the yeast producing the carbon dioxide and blowing those little air pockets in the dough, okay? And then step 8 is punch the dough down, knead it for about 1 minute, and the dough is ready. What we're gonna do, since we only have a 45-minute class, we don't have time to make the dough and bake the pizza in the same day. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make the dough, put plastic wrap over the top, set on the stove, put a blanket over it, a towel, and let it rise for 45 minutes. Then I will take it after it's risen for 45 minutes and doubled. I'll put it in the refrigerator for you. The next day, you'll take it out of the refrigerator. You're gonna punch it down, which is just basically you punch it one time, and that pops any really big air pockets that you have. And then you're going to go on to the pizza instructions the second day. So now look where it says pizza instructions. Preheat the oven to 450, so I'll turn your ovens on to 450 before you get here. Step 2, spray the pizza pan with cooking spray. So I have these really nice pizza pans that have little holes in the bottom. They work really good for this crust. You're gonna do a light layer of spray on the pizza pan. Step 3, using a rolling pin and your hands, roll and stretch out the dough. And leave a rim around the outside edge. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your dough, put some flour down, you're gonna take your rolling pin and roll it from the middle out, middle out, middle out, middle out, kind of like that. Don't try to take the dough from one side and go all the way across. Always start from the middle and then go out. And you wanna roll your dough really flat and then take your pizza pan and hold it above it. You need to get that pizza crust bigger than your pan. All right, and then we're on step 4 with a fork, make small holes in the crust. What you'll do is you'll lift up the pizza. This is probably a 3-person job. Lift up the crust over here, lift up the crust over here, and have a third person slide the pizza under, and then take that extra crust that's larger than the pan, kind of pinch it around the edge to make a crust. You're gonna take a fork and you're gonna pop little holes all over in the crust with a fork. And then you're on step 5. You'll bake the plain crust for 5 minutes. And then you'll go to step 6, quickly spread on the sauce, sprinkle on your cheese and your toppings, and then you'll bake it again for about 10 minutes until it's golden brown. And I'll tell you, it is going to be delicious. Okay, so what I'm gonna do right now is put the plastic wrap over it, put it on top of my warm oven, but not in the oven, and put a towel over it and let it set for 45 minutes to double in size. And I hope that you try this at home or in class and your pizza comes out delish. Thank you.